All right, folks, good morning. Well, this big winter storm we've been talking about for the last week is finally here. I'm KTBS Storm Team 3 meteorologist Skip Cordes, and for the next 10 minutes or so, we're going to be going in depth about this winter storm and what we're seeing now, what we're going to see over the next several hours and days. And it's going to be a long event. You know, around here, we're used to severe weather, tornadoes, severe storms. They hit you hard, they hit you quick, and then they're out. This is not that kind of situation or storm. This is a long duration event. It's starting now, and it's not going to end until probably Tuesday afternoon. We will start to thaw out because there are two parts to this. One part is the precipitation, which is going on now with freezing rain and sleet. The second part are the really cold Arctic temperatures that are going to be coming in Monday and Tuesday morning. So whatever falls from the sky today and tomorrow, it's not going to melt. It's going to stay on the ground. So we're not looking at any melting till probably Tuesday afternoon. We are looking for an extended period of below freezing. So even though we're not going to see a lot of snow, this is mainly be a sleet and freezing rain event. The ice is going to look like it's snow because it's going to be just covered with a sheet of white, but it's not snow, it's sleet and freezing rain. So we're going to call this the winter storm wallop. And boy, is it going to be a wallop. It's already happening. So winter storm warning and ice storm warnings for us all across the Arklatex. I'm expecting about 1/4 of an inch to 3/4 of an inch of ice. That's a lot. I mean, even up to an inch of ice. Now, just think of it. An inch is about that much, right? That causes a lot of problems. When you put an inch of ice on power lines from pole to pole, it can weigh 800 to 900 pounds. And most power lines cannot take that kind of weight. That's what happens. They start to sag and then they break and we have power outages. That's the kind of thing we're going to see. It's almost better to have 10 inches of snow than to have this kind of ice because the snow, it's not as dangerous as the ice is. So please stay off the roads if you can. If you got to go out and do an errand or two, just go to your destination and come home. Don't do any sightseeing, see what's going on in the neighborhood. It's just not worth it, especially out on the roads, because there are a lot of folks who do not know how to drive in this kind of stuff as we're not used to this. So folks, you know, that's not a good idea. If you got to go out, do your stuff and come back home because it can be very dangerous. You may be okay driving, but other folks may not. So they'll get you in trouble. Also, another deal with the second part of this is the continuous hours below 32 degrees. So it's now below 32. It will not get above 32 till possibly Monday, most likely Tuesday. So that's 70 plus hours, maybe 80 hours of that kind of temperature. So obviously the ice is the problem. Not much snow. We might see a little snow in northern parts of the Arklatex, and most places will get sleet and freezing rain, and that's the problem as well as the below freezing temperature. So right now, this is just the start of it. Look at these power outages. Now see the scale up here. The blue is about 100 to maybe 1,000, the little darker blue. So we already got hundreds up to 1,000 power outages in East Texas, right here. Already into Caddo Parish, we have some power outages. So this is just going to get worse. We're going to see a lot more colors on this map. Once you get to about the yellow and the blue, that's 10 to 20,000 people without power. We will see that in most places in the Arklatex. So the best thing to do is to have a plan. If you lose power, what are you going to do? If you have a plan, if you lose power or if you lose water, that can be possible. You can lose water and or power. If you have a plan, you're less, you're not going to have as much anxiety if you know what to do in these situations. So just think about what you're going to do if you lose power or water, because that's certainly possible in these kind of temperatures. So we got the ice storm warning across I-20 and Point South, winter storm warning for northern areas. So what this means is that the winter storm warning, you'll get a more mixture of some snow, maybe more sleet than ice up here. We see the purple, that's mainly ice and sleet. So that's what we're seeing now. And we're going to see waves of this. So we have one wave come through now, a little break in the afternoon, another wave coming through tonight and tomorrow. So Saturday temperatures are going to be way below normal. You can see here, we're going to have record daytime high temperatures. What's that mean? What that means is there are records for all kinds of temperatures. So there's record low highs. So we're going to see record low highs for today across majority of the southern plains, and that includes the Arctic. So the highs may not get to 30. So that might be the coldest high temperature for the day, if you can understand that. Okay, so we have lots of those things happening. That's for Saturday. And so for Sunday, the icing, or for Saturday, the icing situation is low pressure is down here along Texas into Louisiana. We have a lot of humidity coming, a lot of moisture feeding the storm. And there's a warm front. So off to the east, there's this warm front, very warm, humid air. So there's actually possibility of some thunderstorms in southeast Louisiana, thunderstorms down here, stretching over to Mississippi and Alabama, south of this warm sector in this south of this warm front. The northern parts of the storm, that's where we are. We got that cold air coming in from the Arctic. I mean, this is straight Arctic air, and I'll show you how cold it is up to the north. You're not going to believe it. But that cold Arctic air is going to make it all the way down to the Gulf Coast. So that's why we're seeing that freezing rain. This cold air is really shallow, just about 10,000 or about 1,000 or 2,000 feet shallow. So that cold air is going to be right at the surface. So we're going to see a lot of that freezing rain at the surface. So your jet stream is showing that big dip in the jet all across the eastern 2/3 of the country. You can see it here. This is Saturday. That cold air is coming all the way down from the Arctic and the Rockies and into the Plain States. So this is our coldest outbreak of the winter season so far. And it's going to encompass most of the United States, the Rockies, all the way across the Northeast, except for maybe Florida. And that's why everybody goes to Florida in the wintertime, right? All right, now here's why we get certain kinds of precipitation. Normally, we get everything in the atmosphere starts to snow, okay? So it's cold enough to snow in the upper parts of the atmosphere. If you get cold enough air throughout the column of air, it's all snow. You don't see a lot of warming. What we're seeing is a little warm nose, it's called, a little nose of warm air in the mid part of the atmosphere. And that's partially due to the subtropical jet stream bringing in warm air, the subtropical jet from the Pacific, and it brings in some warm air at the mid-level. So this precipitation falls as snow, and if there's just a little bit of warm air, it melts quickly and then refreezes because it has enough cold air from when that water moves through, it melts and then refreezes, and it has enough time before it hits the ground to refreeze to sleet. If that warm sector in the middle of the atmosphere is thick enough, it can be rain all the way down to the surface. And then right at the surface, and this is the situation we're in, right at the surface, just 1,000 or 2,000 feet, it gets below freezing. So it doesn't have time to refreeze into sleet, certainly not snow, but it doesn't even have time to have sleet. It just falls as liquid to the ground, and then it freezes on contact. That's what we're seeing here. That's what we're going to be seeing most of this weekend. Might get a little bit of this. There might be enough cold air to freeze into sleet. Possibly by Sunday morning, you might see enough cold air to have some snow flurries, but most likely sleet and freezing rain. Of course, if it's warm all the way to the ground, like we usually see, most months out of the year, it's just plain old rain. So that's how we see different kinds of precipitation. As far as bridges and overpasses, and I'm going to show you some of our DOT cameras, and that will show exactly how this works with real-time pictures. But this is what it looks like with the animation here. You can see the cold air goes under the bridge. So it cools the bridge surface from below and from above. When you're on the ground here, when the surface is on the ground, there is no cooling going under. It can't go into the earth. So the bridges have cooling all around the surface here. So it cools it very quickly. And this is what I'm going to show you that's going on right now on bridges and overpasses in the Shreveport-Bossier area. I'll show you that in our cameras in a minute. But this is why the bridges ice up faster, because it can cool down a lot faster. So right now, this is a live picture of your Willis Light Mega 3 live Doppler radar, sleet and freezing rain, a solid area from northwest Louisiana, southwest Arkansas, all of East Texas, finally breaking up back here west of Tyler. But it's going to take several hours for all of this to move through. So we can put it in motion. You can see it moving from southwest to northeast. It's sometimes heavy, sometimes light, but it really doesn't matter because it's moisture falling into temperatures that are below freezing at the surface. So it's taking its time coming down. It's not just pouring down rain, but it doesn't really need to because it's falling into that cold atmosphere. It really doesn't matter. You can see some of the darker purples. That's a little heavier rain, freezing rain. in DeSoto Parish. So those of you in Mansfield might be seeing a little heavier rain here, but it's still freezing rain, and it's going to freeze on surface. Further down to the south, just rain. We were having some heavy rain in Nacogdoches earlier, but even that's now beginning to turn over to freezing rain. So the road temperatures is what we look at. The air temperature is already below freezing. It takes a while for the roads to cool down to below freezing. So at the beginning of the event, the roads really didn't freeze up that much. And that was early this morning, about 3, 4, 5 o'clock. Now the road temperatures are getting down below freezing. So the roads, even if they're on land, not just bridges and overpasses, even the roads that are on the surface of the earth, on land, begin to freeze up. So we have 20s for road temperatures. Definitely the roads are freezing up in Southwest Arkansas, Northeast Texas. They're now freezing along the I-20 corridor, where the road temperatures are now getting cold enough to freeze and stay frozen. Further south, Natchitoches, it's not cold enough. The road temperature is still near 40, near Manny, near 40. So eventually this will cool down enough all the way down to Natchitoches and Manny. We'll be close to freezing. So even these areas will freeze up. It might just take a little bit longer later this afternoon or tonight. That's 8 o'clock tonight. So it'll make it down here. It may not be as thick of a glaze as in northern sections and near I-20, but even down in Manny, Nacogdoches will have some freezing on the roadways over the next couple of days. Current temperatures, very cold. We've already had our highs for the day. The highs were reached about midnight to 1 a.m. Temperatures are falling into the 20s, and they're not going to budge. They're going to stay in these kind of temperature range all day long. 22 in Hope, 28 in Texarkana, 27 in Atlanta, 23 in Magnolia. Further south along the I-20 corridor, got temperatures around 30 or below. You can see 28 in Shreveport, 26 in Minden, 28 in Ringgold. It's not quite to freezing in Natchitoches, Manny, Hemp Hill, 35, 36. But don't worry, you'll get there. It's just going to take a while. This cold air is kind of like molasses. It's like Arctic air is very, very heavy. So it doesn't just kind of blow through like warm air does. It takes a while for that cold air. It kind of grips the surface and just moves down south. It takes this time, but there's nothing to impede it. There is some impediment up there in southeast Oklahoma. The Ouachita Mountains keeps the cold air at bay for a little bit, but sooner or later, it will move down even through the Ouachita Mountains in southeast Oklahoma. You can kind of see that here in our regional temperatures. See that little bubble, that little warmer air? That's the Ouachita Mountains right there, Idabel, Broken Bow, along the Red River, Northeast Texas. So that cold air over here, there aren't any mountains there in West Texas. It comes blazing south and makes a beeline. They call this a blue norther. The winds come blowing out of the north and just blows that cold air all the way south to San Angelo. So San Angelo, 16 degrees, and Shreveport Bossier, 28. That's because of these little mountains here and higher elevations in Northeast Texas, Southeast Oklahoma. So this is really interesting. This was earlier today. It was 71 in Corpus Christi. I believe it was 6 o'clock this morning. 71 it was down there, while it was 0 in Amarillo. They've cooled down, look at that, almost 20 degrees just in the last hour or two in Corpus Christi. So you can see that cold air making all the way down to Corpus Christi already, while New Orleans, it's going to take its time getting here because of these little mountainous areas and doesn't have a free path from the north. 45 in Lake Charles. It is 53 in New Orleans, but they'll get cold. It's 1 below 0 in Amarillo, 1 below 0. They may not get to 5 today for temperatures. 7 Oklahoma City. That snow going on in Oklahoma City and Little Rock is very, very light, fluffy snow. There's no moisture content to that snow. So it's very hard to make snowballs and that kind of thing, or never mind a snowman, when the temperatures are this cold because the composition of the snow is so dry. Look at the heart of this Arctic air. These are current temperatures. 16 below in Bismarck, North Dakota, 11 below Pierce, South Dakota, 14 below in Minneapolis, St. Paul, 9 below 0 current temperature in Chicago, Green Bay, Wisconsin, 17 below 0. It's 1 below in Kansas City. Pure Arctic air, and we're getting that here. Don't think it'll get this cold, but I'm going to show you by Tuesday morning. Don't be surprised to see a temperature or two here below 0. 11 in New York City. So that cold air is moving across really the eastern 2/3 of the United States. It's 3 degrees in Denver. So this is the coldest outbreak of the season across the whole United States. There's the snow going on in Arkansas into Oklahoma. There's the low pressure way south. Now, if this low pressure was up further north, everything would be pushed north. We would get just rain here. We would be probably south of this warm front if that low was up further north, but it's way down. And when these low pressure areas get in the Gulf in the wintertime, that's when we get our snow and freezing rain. When we have these Gulf lows that develop coming out of Mexico and Texas, they're going to develop here, and that keeps us in the cold sector. So we never really warm up enough to get rain. The rainy weather stays along the Gulf Coast, but this is a perfect setup that we usually see here to see freezing rain, sleet, and snow. Now put in motion, you can see that snow. It's heavy at times, Oklahoma City over towards Little Rock. So they're going to get a good foot of snow, 12 inches possible, Oklahoma City over to Tulsa and northern parts of Arkansas. So they are going to be having all snow up there. For us, like I said, the freezing rain and sleet. And you can see that cold air in motion here. Watch this green here. That's rain. As that rain moves into that cold air, it clicks over to the pink. That's freezing rain. So that just shows you the rain moving into the cold air, and then it turns to freezing rain and sleet. And even here, it's beginning to get cold all the way down to Waco, Texas, and down towards Austin. So they'll get the cold air as well. So this is going to extend across most of Texas. Look at Houston. They had a huge thunderstorm move through this morning. They were very close to that warm front. Big line of thunderstorms this morning in Houston. We even had reports in East Texas when this thing started of thunder sleet. There are reports of thunder in Tyler over to Longview as the sleet was beginning to fall. So that just shows you how much dynamics, how much what we call vertical velocities, upward motion of air. It's rising very violently and quickly, causing a lot of updrafts, causing us to get thunder and lightning in cold air. It's very hard to get thunder in cold air. That's a warm air phenomenon. But if you have enough lift, you can get thunder and lightning in cold temperatures and sleet. We've heard of thunder snow. You can get that too. Now, we're not going to get snow here, but I'll call it thunder ice because we've had some thunder with that sleet in East Texas. So hour by hour, temperatures are not going to fall at all. We are going to stay in the mid-20s. That's our hour by hour forecast. Sleet, freezing rain, and like I said, see this? Maybe a couple of thunderstorms with the sleet. So tonight, 6, 7, 8 o'clock, you hear some thunder. That's quite possible. And lightning with sleet going on. That's how much vertical velocity we might have. So that would not be out of the question to hear thunder with sleet and freezing rain going on tonight. Crazy as it might seem, a lot of dynamics with this storm coming through. So for today, we can see that mixture of freezing rain, sleet going on all day. Temperatures are not going to budge a whole lot. Mid-20s for temperatures. And there's that chance of a thunderstorm with some sleet possible. And it's not really a thunderstorm, it's thunder sleet tonight with temperatures in the 20s. Tomorrow should be a little bit better as far as the precipitation. It will start to end, and I'm going to show you the precision cast in a second, by around 11 or 12 o'clock. And it's a possibility as it ends that we'll see some snow showers on Sunday morning. Not a big chance, but especially northern parts of the Arkansas will see some snow, and there's a chance of some snow flurries. Don't think it's going to be enough to make a snowman. So, 4 or 5 years ago, we had that storm. We had enough snow to make snowmen. It was like 3, 4, or 5 inches of snow. It's not going to happen this time. Maybe north of I-30 will have some of that, but most places will just see some snow, just a lot of ice on the ground. So we might see a little sun tomorrow, but most likely just cloudy and cold with temperatures in the 20s throughout the day. All right, so here's the timing on all this. And as you can see here, we are looking at teens for temperatures this afternoon. So how could it be freezing rain and sleet with temperatures this cold? That doesn't make sense. I mean, if it's that cold, there should be snow everywhere, right? But like I showed you earlier, there is a very shallow air, Arctic air in place. That cold air, even in the teens, it's very shallow. So above the atmosphere here, it's raining. not snowing. So that's why you can get freezing rain and sleet in this kind of atmosphere in the teens, because that air at the surface is really shallow, and right above the surface, it's raining. So it doesn't have time to freeze into snow. That air is so shallow that there's not enough time to freeze it. Even you might see sleet with this, but not enough time to have snow. That air is deep enough further up here, Oklahoma, eastern Oklahoma, Arkansas, to have all snow. The air is much thicker at the surface, so you can get snow. So that's why you can get sleet at these kind of temperatures. It's not very common to see sleet with temperatures in the teens. That's not very common. Usually this is all snow, but because it's so shallow, that's what happens. And we'll see this sleet, freezing rain this morning into this afternoon. There might be a break by later this afternoon, maybe some drizzle, freezing drizzle is possible, or mist. But we'll see more of this evening. This is 6:30. Down in Natchitoches, you can see a little bit of that sleet and freezing rain as well down there. So that's going to make it all the way down to the southern parts of the Arklatex. Another little bit of a break around midnight. Then here comes another batch. Freezing rain and sleet. Temperatures in the low 20s. All snow up here. We see the blue. Remember, the cold air layer is thicker up here, so you can get snow. Here, it's not that thick. So widespread freezing rain and sleet. So that's causing a lot of power problems. So I think by Sunday morning, we're going to have a lot of power outages, because it's going to have all day today, all night for that ice to form on power lines and to cause power outages. So just because you have power today doesn't mean you're not going to lose power tonight, because it takes time for the ice to accumulate on power lines and to sag those lines and to cause power outages. Plus, if the wind goes up, that makes it worse. You have ice on power lines with wind, blows those lines around, and it can easily snap. So our power outages will probably go up tonight and tomorrow than they are right now. Now, once that precipitation is over, you can see there by 10 a.m. Sunday. So a lot of folks go to church on Sunday, of course. Check your church. A lot of churches are doing online services because they don't want their folks and the parishioners to go out in this kind of atmosphere where the roads are slick and the winds and the cold temperatures. So just check your church and see if they have in-service or online services. Cold temperatures behind the precipitation. So this will be the end for part one, the precipitation part of the storm. Part two is the cold. That starts on Sunday night. So Sunday night, clouds will begin to thin and we'll see starry skies, but that's not good because remember, clouds act like a blanket and keeps things relatively bearable. Once those clouds are gone, it's like pulling the blanket off your bed. Boy, you get cold quick, don't you? And you can see as those clouds get pulled away, clear skies, and it gets really cold. Remember, even though the clouds are gone, we're still going to see that ice on the ground. We're going to see a lot of ice still sticking around. So when you have ice at the surface, it makes it really cold at night because that ice is like, on the surface kind of acts like a refrigerator. It makes it really cold at the surface. So we didn't have any ice, may not get this cold. But because that ice is on the ground, maybe an inch or two in some places, it's going to make it really cold. So 7 Monday morning in Texarkana, 8 in Atlanta, 10 Shreveport-Bossier, 15 in Natchitoches, 13 in Many. Now on Monday, even though we'll see sunshine, it may not get above freezing, possibly to 32. So this is just going to make it worse. We're not looking at hardly any melting going on Monday. Normally, we'll see some sun, it'll get to freezing or above, but not this time. That Arctic air is so strong that even with sunshine, it may not get to 32. So we're not looking at a lot of melting on Monday. And with the lighter winds Monday night, and it'll be probably completely clear, it's going to be worse on Tuesday morning. That will be our coldest morning of the storm, Tuesday morning. Look at these temperatures hovering near zero. So remember, we're getting the precipitation now. It's not going to melt today. It's not going to melt Sunday. Probably not going to melt on Monday much. So by Tuesday morning, you'll still have the ice on the ground, clear skies, calm winds, perfect conditions to get really, really cold. These will break records in a lot of places. So might be a below zero in some places. Most places will probably be in the single digits, maybe below zero in some places, but just really cold. Finally, we'll see temperatures moderate. Now, this is not showing to freezing on Tuesday. I think it's going to be above freezing. So I think by Tuesday afternoon, we will see temperatures closer to 40. So that will start the melting Tuesday afternoon. Even though it doesn't show it here, I do think it will be warmer than this, that it'll get in the mid to upper 30s, possibly 40 degrees. All right, so we have a couple of forecast models and talk about the freezing rain here. So this is going to be our main precipitation for this event, freezing rain. This is one model that is going to show the freezing rain amounts on how much we might get. And I talked about this earlier. Keep in mind, a half an inch of ice to 3/4 widespread or numerous power outages. This model is showing half an inch to maybe 3/4 an inch in most places. So you can see, like I showed you earlier, there's already a lot of power outages in East Texas, Southwest Arkansas. So a lot more ice is going to cause even more power outages. This is another this is another model here. And this is showing freezing rain amounts. And this one is showing more than that. Look at this. See the red here? That's an inch to 2 inches of freezing rain, mainly across eastern areas of the Arklatex, Ruston, maybe Minden. This would be widespread, almost 80% power outages in these areas here. So these are two computer models about freezing rain, both showing half an inch or up to an inch. So we're looking at lots of power outages across the area. Also with this is the wind chills. Now it's going to be a little windy today, but we have the cloud cover. We have the precipitation to kind of keep things at bay a little bit. So I'm not going to have bad wind chills today or really tomorrow. But look at when skies clear out and just a little bit of wind with these temperatures, wind chills Monday morning will be below zero in East Texas, Southwest Arkansas. Tuesday morning will be even worse. Look at this, -6 to 10 below zero. So here's your forecast. Got a 100% chance of freezing rain today. Tomorrow, Monday will be down near 10. Tuesday will be down in the single digits, maybe zero, with a lot of sunshine. Like I said, might get up to 40. That's when we'll see some melting going on, as well as Wednesday and Thursday. I don't want to talk about it, but over here, right there, see it? Maybe some more winter weather Friday. We'll see if this happens, but this might be another one coming the end of the week. So we'll keep an eye on that for you. Now, as far as traffic, we've been checking out the roads. We've been doing some live shots this morning earlier, and there are roadway closures. You can see in purple here, we have closed roads, mainly the upper roadway, the overpasses and elevated roadways here, I-20, 220 and 49 interchanges, I-49 through Shreveport closed down. And we had some of these these DOT cameras. These are live pictures of I-20 and Common Street. You can see here, iced over. See the bridges and overpasses? It's icier here than where it is on land. Now the land is, like I said, getting below freezing. So even the roadways over the land are getting frozen up. But definitely, this is an overpass. It's definitely cold there. You can see how much icier it is there. Now, these folks going over I-20 should be going slower than that. They're going a little too fast. So if you have to get out, be slow across these bridges and overpasses. And now even the land is getting on the icy side. This is a live picture of Cross Lake Bridge, and we have a disabled vehicle here. So this one probably is closed by now. I don't know if I-220 going across Lake is closed, but it's probably very close to being closed as they have a disabled vehicle here. Look at how icy it is over Cross Lake. So it's already iced up, and this thing has just started. So just keep in mind, this is what we're talking about. Trying to get out on the roads. If there's a store you need to go to and it's close to your house, a mile or two, okay, get out. If you have to travel a long way, though, this is what you're going to encounter. Icy roadways just like that going over Cross Lake, and that's why we have some closure. That's the 220 interchange with I-49 there. That's closed up, and you can see the yellow is slowing. You got to slow down there. There's I-49 closed up there going through Shreveport. These are still open. I-20 will stay open. Louisiana Department of Transportation has to keep I-20 open. It is mandatory to keep that open as long as possible. 220 is an interstate, but it's not as critical because it's going over Cross Lake. But 20 will stay open as long as possible. So they're going to put sand, some salt on I-20 to keep that open because that's a major highway through the southern U.S. So if this closes down, it's going to be backed up because there's nowhere else to go. You really can't get on Highway 80 because that's going to be pretty blocked up with ice. So I-20 has got to stay open. So they will, but this is what you're seeing. See these trucks going across. I guess 220 over Cross Lake is still open. It's not closed yet, but that car is stalled out. So these folks are still going over the bridge. So, but eventually this will probably close, but we'll see. Either way, this is what we're starting with. We're going to see more of this throughout the day. And every hour, at the top of the hour, I'll be doing these. This one lasts a little bit longer. This lasted 30 minutes. I'll try to keep it down to 10 minutes or 15. But at the top of every hour on our news channel, our weather channel, and on Facebook Live, we'll be doing these updates to show you what's been going on. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you at 9 o'clock.